Hey y'all, welcome to the Urban Garden Her YouTube channel. My name is Alexis and I am the Urban Garden Her. So today we are going to talk about my Luma Electric Kitchen Composter. I'm not sure if you can see the brand name on here, but it's Luma, L-U-M-A. It is from Newair, which is like they sell a lot of appliances there from what I've seen, like wine chillers and such. But they made this cool composter that they gifted me that allows me to compost all of my food scraps that we have in the kitchen or that we, eat sometimes and don't, want to go to waste. So I have been using this thing for a month or so and it has been amazing. First things first, this thing is the truth. Like we've been using this for basically all of our food scraps, making our own fertilizer, which is so cool as a gardener. Like for those gardeners out there, like how expensive fertilizers are and how you just don't know what's in them. But like at least like with composting, which I've gotten more into doing, not only is this, sustainable in general because you're not like adding food waste to the environment that does a whole nother thing to like the ecosystem and climate change and everything, but you're also putting nutrients back into the earth and back into your soil from the things that you consumed as, from the garden. And so I just really have loved this thing for so many reasons. But yeah, we'll get started and we'll go through all of my different reasons for using this composter but like why I enjoy this over the traditional method of composting in ground. So let's get started. Okay, so now for those that are not familiar with composting is a way to take your food scraps, and not just your food scraps, but also like, papers. I'm trying to think of what else. Sometimes you can use bones from animals that you have eaten, chicken bones or fish bones. I've also compost eggshells. All these different things are organic matter when they're broken down, and they add micronutrients back into your soil. And so it's just always good to just, keep those things, not just throw them in the trash, because there's a whole other thing about, what this does to the environment that I won't go into. But at least you know that you are providing these nutrients back into the soil. You're helping the environment by what's the word? Yeah, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Composting them. But yeah, so like, the traditional method of composting consists of like taking stuff like, I got this here peach that I didn't want to finish eating. I gave some to my daughter, but they were like really ripe and it was just too soft. So I didn't want to throw it in the trash because it's, I don't want to waste it, but you want to use it for compost. I got these here, paper rolls from like paper towels and toilet paper. We use them all the time. Guess what? You can compost these. So yeah, we have these. Got this here leftover onion. I'm still learning about onions and alliums, like, your onions, if they're good to compost in your composter. But I mean, we're gonna compost it today. And just some other leftover little food scraps from my kids. They don't like to eat of course nobody does, but like I always cut off the leaves part of the strawberries so, they can just eat it with their hands and stuff, so. But yeah, all these things you can just compost. And so like prior to this, what I was doing, we have an in-ground composter, which was from a Sub Pod. They went out of business, I think, which is so sad. But I had an in-ground composter that it was a vermicomposter, and basically vermicomposters use worms. Worms, for those that don't know, they help a lot with composting and providing nutrients back into your soil. Specifically red wiggler worms, earthworms too, but red wiggler worms, they basically take the food waste that you put in. So you have to have a mix of your greens, which is your food waste, vegetables, I think eggshells kind of that too, coffee grounds, fruit, whatever. but it's not like anything that you've cooked. So like you can't take cooked food and compost it. Maybe you can. I have to do my research on that. But I take my raw vegetables and stuff, raw stuff, and put it in a composter. And then you also have to mix your browns, which adds carbon back into the mixture. So like your browns, like your papers, shredded papers and such, and leaves, like dry leaves from like the winter time, like fall when they start falling. That's compost. You can add that back nutrients back into your soil. So I will put those into my compost bin. The red wiggler worms would eat through them and then break it down, and then their poop is actually like a fertilizer, worm castings, which is what it's called. You'll see that in like Home Depot. They sell it. It's worm castings. It's very, very high in nutrients for your garden. It loves that. And so yeah, that's basically how I create a compost, but that takes months. When I tell you months, it takes months. Like I started composting. I've had that composted for a couple of years, but like I didn't really use it like that until like last year. So I was throwing all the food scraps over the winter time, from summer and winter time, and by like springtime is when I saw like the vermicomposter has holes on the side, so that's like where the compost was coming out of, and I was like, this is super dark and rich. That was the compost. That was the worm compost that was produced from that. So again, it's super beneficial to compost. You can do it in ground. You can do it above ground in like a tumbler, like a compost bin that tumbles. Those are messy though. They leak and they're messy, and they attract different other pests that you don't want, like animals. So you know, there's different pros and cons to composting outdoors, right? It takes time. It's messy. It smells sometimes if you're not doing it right, and also it attracts different type of pests, right? But, and also in addition to that, you have to, if you're not like regular with it, like which I wasn't, I had this here compost bin indoors, which I don't have time to go outside, so we put like food scraps in here until we're ready to go take it out to the composter. But the thing about that, y'all, if you let this thing pile up, it stinks. Not only does it stink, it creates fruit flies. So then you open it up and all these fruit flies are lying around your room, your kitchen, and you don't want that either. So I was just like, we gotta find a way to get around that. So we want to save the environment, be sustainable, but we also want to like not have all the inconveniences of composting. So hence why we have this here electric composter. Amazing. So let me turn it on. Is it on? So basically how it works, and I actually already have some stuff in here, which I'm gonna go into like why you don't want to start putting stuff in here and let it sit. But I have some stuff in here because I wasn't ready to compost. So basically, literally, I'll go through how this looks, but you're just going to open this up and literally just dump everything. Oops, see, we got some fruit flies here. This is why you don't leave stuff in here. Compost, your compost sitting indoors, but we just throw everything in here. And so they give you, I have to find the little packet, the little booklet, but it comes with a booklet and it tells you how much, the ratio of how much stuff you should put in here and what you should and should not put in here, which is great because y'all, I'm new to this, not true to this yet. And it tells you how much you should put in here. So that was very helpful for one, from the company that I appreciate. And then also it tells you how much, ooh, look at the fruit flies. Y'all, that's my fault. I let this sit in here a little too long, but it tells you how much browns, like paper material, you can put in there. And what I will say is that you don't want to just put just your greens, like your vegetables, your fruits, your eggshells and stuff in here by themselves, because it will be mushy. You want to have a mixture. It'll be mushy and it will be, I'm trying to remember, was it mushy or was it wasn't mushy. It just wasn't fully dry. The browns and stuff kind of help it to dry up a little bit from what I saw. So you do want to make sure that whenever you put something in here that's greenish, like the vegetables and raw, add some type of brown material in there too. And not a whole lot because this does heat up fairly well. and it could catch fire if you put too much paper. You know, paper and heat don't mix. But yeah, it says put a you know, small amount, not a generous amount, a small amount. So I'm just gonna shred this up. Just put these little pieces of browns in here. Sorry, I'm looking at the time because I'm going to the community garden this morning before it gets hot. So I can do some work out there too. But yeah, we're just gonna just shred this up. You know, you ain't gonna do too fine, but you'll see how it turns out to look, you know, after you put all this in here. But you're just gonna shred it up a little bit so it can break down when it's in here. And yeah, pretty much that's how this whole thing works. But it's really cool because I will say though, that make sure when you're putting vegetables in like raw green stuff material in here that it's fresh, because what I did, because like I said, this creates odorless compost. And right now, even though I had it in there for a few days, some of the green material in here, a few days, it doesn't stink. But what I did one time, which you do not want to do, is like save all your compost in there and like let it get like broken down. Like I think I probably had that in there for a couple of weeks and it was like foul. And I was like, well, it's gotta get composted. And I poured all that in here. Y'all, that was the stinkiest compost. Oh my gosh, my whole house was funky. We'll never do that again. And that was my fault. I should not have put in like already composted compost in here that was like smelly, because it was like all over the house. So you don't want to do that. You want to put like raw, fresh stuff in here. And that's why, because it will be funky. You know, they say that when you have your compost, if you're doing it right, isn't supposed to stink. Which, I mean, I guess that's true. The times mine has stunk is that's when you know that you have the wrong ratio of stuff in your material in your compost bin, when it starts to get real foul and smelling like ammonia. That means you need probably to add more browns to it. Browns as in the paper material, because you got too much greens and too much funky, raw, rotting stuff in your compost bin. So make sure you have a good mixture so that it won't smell. But the same thing goes for this compost bin too. And also just don't wait to compost. Yeah. So we're gonna go ahead and just finish this up, and then once we're done, we will turn it on. Okay, so yeah, it doesn't turn on until I put the lid on. But before he turned on, make sure your compost doesn't come like higher than here. As you can see, to like that level. It'll have like a label when you get it. It says don't fill it up to this height. I've done it. I have filled it up to that height before, and you probably shouldn't, because it starts like touching the lid and everything. You don't want to do all that. Want that to happen. It's going to shrink. It will shrink, but it, you know, in the beginning, it'll start touching the lid if it's too high. So you just put this here lid on here. You see there's like a little open lock and a lock. You just twist the handle like that, and you see it just beeps. There's a little beep. You hit the on button, and that's it. That's it. So what the steps that'll happen is that it'll start the drying process. So it starts turning it around. I guess it's starting to dry it. You hear that? It's like starting to grind it. It'll start grinding it up too. And then there's like a little cooling phase as well. So everything is mixing in there and grinding and, you know, breaking it down. It's breaking it down essentially. And then it'll cool it down. It'll start, you know, cooling off. It has a filter in here, which I can show you all as well. But it has a filter on the side of here that basically, you know, I don't even know what that does. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. I don't know what that does, but you need to have a filter in here. And when it has broken everything down, then it's like sucks up all the, not nutrients, it sucks up all the moisture. And then it cools it. And so then you have like this nice dry looking compost looking material. And so this takes about I don't know. You know, I have never timed it exactly because I always do it overnight, and by the next morning it is dry and done. So we're just gonna let this sit here and see how long this usually just will take. So I'm gonna take a note of how much time it takes. All right, so this is where the filter is at here. I feel the air coming through. I probably should turn this off while I'm doing this, or pull the plug out. Let me pull it out real quick. This is where the filter is. So they comes with two. It comes with one already in here, and this is the one that already came with it. And then it has another one that it comes with. So as you can see here, you just stick it in there, and it tells you how many. I forgot how many hours or how many. Let's say how many hours you can use this with. But yeah. It seems like quite a bit though, so I don't anticipate this going bad anytime soon. All right, guys, so we are at the next day, and I'll be honest, I did not track how many hours this took. It had stopped. I think I had turned it off, and I realized later on, like hours later, that it had stopped and then it started it, and then my day went on, and I just didn't track how long it took. But just know that it was less than a day. That this had processed everything. I think I remember starting it earlier, starting it again, restarting it because it was off. So probably before we left yesterday, probably around like, was it in the morning time? And then by the afternoon, I looked and it was like shrunk down and composted down. I couldn't tell if it was dry or wet, but that was about like less than 12 hours. So here we are the next day, and we are going to open up the composter. You just twist it off, and I'm looking in, and it's dry. It has finished composting everything that I had in here. I had peaches. I can't remember what else was in here. Some paper towel rolls, paper, toilet paper rolls, and you can see here, it is composted, and I'll do a quicker, closer look so you can see this as well. And I spilled some, but yeah. All right, so as you can see, this is what it looks like the next day. It's dry. Everything is dry. This is like, you know, how you can find some of your fertilizer compost looking like. But yeah, it's not all mushy and wet. It doesn't smell at all. Like, it has no smell. But this is literally what my compost looks like the next day. It looks like dirt. Essentially, like it looks like some dirt. So yeah, I'm pretty pleased with this whole process. It does shrink down fairly low, so as you can see, you know, it's not a whole lot. It's not to just sprinkle in your garden. I sprinkle it just on top of my soil bed. I don't like, you know, you can work it into the soil, but it doesn't need that. You just, you know, the water is going to break it down even further when it rains and you're watering your garden. But yeah, it's not a whole lot, but it's just, you know, enough to just get through your, you know, food waste that you're cooking in the kitchen, so that it's not sitting there and decomposing. You know, you're getting it out the way, or you're not, you know, putting it in bulk. So I wouldn't recommend this product for bulky food waste, but just like your regular everyday to day, or even a couple days of food waste that you're using in your kitchen. All right, so I hope that this is helpful for you all. This product, the Luma Electric Kitchen Composter, is awesome. I love this thing. Like, I'm actually getting ready to compost some more things. It has some like moldy strawberries, and we'll add some other different food waste and my browns in there as well. So if you enjoyed, please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'll be sharing more tips and tricks for growing in small spaces, and I hope you will be able to enjoy this product and be more sustainable. Happy gardening!